know that when you have a purpose and a calling on your life, there's nothing that nobody, and nothing can happen. I am Angela C. Wright.
Over the top, the gotcha.
He said your numbers has shrunk. He said, I don't know how, why.
You're not gonna get like, you're gonna have to have mounds of security for me because you're not gonna get me.
If I wasn't depressed and going through what I was going through, I probably would have never started.
Hey guys, welcome to another great episode of Break Phree podcast, and I have someone here that y'all probably wouldn't believe that's here. Help me to say hello to Judge Gundy.
Hey,
how are
you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming by.
I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate you inviting me, even though I am an unexpected guest.
Well, I don't think typically that sometimes when we see us, we don't see Judge, right? And then sometimes too, or in my mind, it's like, would a judge come, to Break Free, to the podcast to talk? So that's what it is, and I'm pretty sure you get a lot of that.
Yeah, but I don't want to speak in generalities. I want to speak about me. Mm-hmm. Because I am from Duval. I am from the north side of Jacksonville, Florida, which is the worst side.
Okay.
It's one of the poorest neighborhoods in America. It is the poorest zip code in the state of Florida.
Really? Mm-hmm. I just learned something.
Yeah, and so for me, the reason I became a judge is really tied to my community and my family.
Okay, so I see right now you think you're going to take over my interview. Judge, this is not your courtroom. This is not your courtroom. This is my courtroom, okay, for today.
Occupational hazard. I just want to say that I am a woman of the people. I go anywhere I'm invited.
Yeah.
I never say no to anyone.
And that stems from you being born in Duval and knowing what it's like to be in the inner city and see all the atrocities and everything that goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you invite me, I show up.
You show up.
Thank you.
So life growing up in Jacksonville for you was?
I would say, you're holding my book. It's called The Daughter of a Junkie, A True Love Story.
Again, she's jumping ahead, guys, but go ahead.
Well, I can only answer the questions I'm asked.
Yeah.
I am a lawyer/judge. We like to talk in facts. And so when you say my childhood, the book is centered around my childhood of growing up with a father who has been addicted to crack cocaine since 1978.
Wow.
And so he fights that battle still to this day. But despite his addiction, he was an amazing father. So even though I grew up and I am from the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, I also grew up with a loving family. I know it's an oxymoron. It's not the traditional story that you hear when you think of being the child of an addict.
Right.
And I understand that. So I am not saying that this is by far everyone's story. I am just saying this is my story. And so my childhood has some very chaotic and violent incidences. But what I remember most is that I was loved every single day of every single year.
And love never fails.
Love conquers all, always.
Yeah. And you held on to that love like you felt like love just got you through the day. No matter what, you knew you were loved and you knew you could move on. And to this day, like you said, your dad is still struggling, but it's obvious that you really love your father.
Yeah, I love my father, my mother, and my sister. I have a sister who I grew up with. There's a chapter in there called Me and Michelle Gundy. My daughter is named after my sister. And I wouldn't have made it without Mia. So it's
Mia older? She's your older sister or younger?
She's my younger sister.
Oh, so she's like me, the little big sister.
She is. Well, I'm the big sister, so... Yes, no, I take that role very seriously. I prayed for Mia when I was a little girl. I wanted nothing more than a little sister. When God gave me my sister, I honored that. And I took it as a privilege to have a sister and to be her big sister. And so every day of my life, I wake up trying to be a better person because I wanted to be a great example for her.
Oh, you're going to make me teary-eyed, Judge. You're going to make me teary-eyed. You're going to make the gangster cry.
All right,
that's
gangster
sweet.
boo.
No, that's really, really sweet. What inspired you to be a judge? Like, how did you know? Well, first you was a lawyer, right? And then a judge. So what inspired you to be a lawyer?
So, again, I talk about this in the book. At 7 years old, the police came to my house looking for my father to arrest him. And he did not open the door. He did not get arrested that night. My mom and sister were actually in custody already. And my father said he needed a lawyer to fix it. I didn't know what a lawyer meant. I just knew that I wanted to help my daddy.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I guess I'll have to be a lawyer. Fast forward, 2 years later, at 9 years old, my neighbor, who was my friend, he was mentally challenged, but he was my friend. He was much older than me, but probably had a lower mental capacity than me, even at 9 years old. But we played together every day. And he was my friend, and he was arrested for heinous crimes, and he never came home. And I didn't even understand that at 9 years old, how someone could leave and never come back. And I knew at 9 that he did not have the mental or physical capacity to do the things that they accused him of. And so my father told me that because the judge didn't look like us, he never had a fighting chance. And so at 9 years old, again, just ignorant, leading with my heart and head, I said, oh, I guess I'll have to become a judge too, so that people around here have a fair shot. I had no idea that the two were related, or that you even had to become a lawyer first to even become a judge. But you know the old saying, make a plan and watch God laugh.
Yes, yes, yes. But you know what's amazing to me? That even at that young age, like, that's that child, that inner child that we have, that we can conquer the world, but that you really went and conquered it. Yeah. You know, from something that was
that
tied
goes
emotionally.
back to the love of my family and my community. So the one thing, I've been without a lot, you know, been without food, without shelter, without housing, without vehicles, without clothes, but I have never been without love. And really, that was all I needed to fuel me.
Because you didn't have anybody, you know, growing up in a poor zip code, you didn't have anybody that looked like you to say, I'm gonna be like that. You didn't have that to go off of. All you did have was love, and it drove you, your ambition.
Yeah, and again, I would say my desire to help. Like, you know, I tell people, I hear a lot of, you know, different reasons why people become lawyers and judges, and very few of them are similar to my situation. If it had not been so personal for me, I don't know if that would have been my life's journey. But you're talking about my family, my father, my mother, my 3-year-old sister is sitting in a jail cell. And my daddy is telling me that a lawyer can fix that.
And that stuck with you.
That's it. I'm going to be the fixer for us. Because again, I just told you, in my family, I took it as an honor and a privilege to be the oldest child.
Right.
So I was ready to carry the weight for everything.
Even when it got rough in school, you still was saying, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a judge.
Okay, well. Little point of correction. It never got tough in school.
No?
No, school is the easiest thing in the world. Like, I
Not
have
the-
a
not the
father that is
education part,
dealing
but
with
like-
crack cocaine.
Yeah.
A mother who has her own issues as well. Like, school is the easiest thing on the block.
But the money for, you know, to be able to put yourself through school, it's not cheap.
Oh, you mean college?
Yeah.
No. So my brain is like a football or a basketball. It's amazing. It was my ticket out. So I was never worried about it. If I had to worry about paying for college, I wouldn't have made it. But I knew that I was smart because my mother and father told me every single day. So I depended on my brain the way that athletes depend on a ball.
Oh, wow.
Like, I knew I was never worried about, you know, paying for college. I knew that my brain would get me there.
You definitely different. Because to come from, yeah, you're definitely different because to come from the inner city, right? And to never see anyone that looks like you be this lawyer, be this judge, and then not to worry about how I'm going to pay for school, how I'm going to get through school, how I'm going to even fill out the FAFSA form. Because.
And you know what's crazy? I have a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. My daughter came home a couple months ago frustrated. She keeps going to these meetings about scholarships. She doesn't qualify for them because her parents are out of that tax bracket.
Right.
I mean, in one generation, I have changed the trajectory of our family legacy.
Right.
Because I applied for everything. I qualified for everything. I even got application waivers. So, you know, yeah, I can read and my comprehension is amazing. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't fill out any of my college applications or FAFSA or any of that. I did everything.
Yeah, I did mine too.
Yeah.
The kids these days, though, they just feel like they can't do it, like it's too much, you know?
But I made my children do it. The only difference is that I watched them do it. My parents, honestly, it's one of the things I work really hard. So there's so many things that I try to do different from them. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things that I think they got perfect. And the ability to relax and have an unconditional belief in me and my sister's ability to do anything is something that I just sincerely admire about them. They have never doubted my ability, regardless of my age. Not one day in my life. So I talk about when I'm 5 years old in the book, and my father, it's Christmas, and my grandmother comes, and she has all my cousins in her big Lincoln Town car piled in there. This is all before seatbelt laws.
Yeah.
And we're all supposed to be going Christmas shopping and going to her house for cocoa and candy. And now I'm 5 years old. I've worked my shift at my father's business already. Mm-hmm. My grandmother comes to pick me up. He says, I can't go. I'm devastated. My grandmother is like losing it. My auntie Robin is there cursing him out. And he just simply says he can't go. They look to my mom for help, who is like, whatever he said, she got to work. We'll see y'all later. I'm 5. And I am running the cash register, standing on a milk crate, ringing customers out. And my daddy looked at me and told me to stop crying, that I was going to have a better Christmas tomorrow because I was going to be the only child with her own money. But the most important part that he told me, mm-hmm. and this is the part that I'm working so hard to do with my children, because I think I have this, I want to protect them because I've been through so much. But he looked at me at 5 years old and told me that my family depended on me.
And you took that to heart?
I did. Not just to heart, I was proud. Mm-hmm. Because he made me feel like I mattered. Like, not just because I'm his daughter, but because I'm capable, mm-hmm. because I'm smart. And we are busy, and we are trying to change our lives. And I believe and know that I cannot do it without you. At 5.
Yeah. You have a very vivid memory. Like, well, to know these markers, you know?
You know what's crazy about that?
And it's all odd numbers, if you 5, 7, 9.
It's so weird because there are years I don't remember anything. Nothing. Everything that's in the book are just the things that impacted me the most. I remember when I was first writing the book, and so I was meeting with my agent, this wonderful woman named Precious Anderson. And so she said, well, I need more descriptions from you. I need you to tell me more about, well, what did the house look like? And, you know, Was it a flower bed? What color was it? Did you have a porch? And I looked at her baffled. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, you got to give us more. You have to really write the scene.
Yeah.
And I said, I love you to death. But you and I had two very different upbringings. One, I don't remember any of those addresses, let alone the color of the house or what it looked like outside. The only thing I remember are the people that I came with and left with. I couldn't remember that to save my life.
Yeah.
When you live a life of trauma,
I was about to say, do you feel like it was buried?
it's not even buried. It's not important. And I told her that no one from my community would believe me. If I couldn't even make it up because we do not live like that on the north side. Mm-hmm. Those are not the things you remember. We do not romanticize what a broken down house looks like. The paint chipping, maybe. Or it might be a concrete building. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've moved more times than I can remember. So the things that I remember vividly are the things that pierce my soul. They really built the core of who I am. Now, those things I remember.
Yeah.
I remember the love. I remember the lessons that really taught me who I am and put me on a path of becoming who I was supposed to be. But I can't tell you the color of a house.
Yeah, yeah, and she knew that at such a young age.
Well, I knew that at such a young age, you know. So my Precious, on the other hand, she's lived at the same place. Her parents still live in the same house, which is beautiful. I mean, she went to Harvard. She went to FAMU also, another black woman. But we have very different stories.
Yeah. And when you were writing the book, well, first, why did you feel like it was necessary to write the book?
So it's a couple reasons. Again, you heard me talk about my children. I have a daughter, Mia Michelle, and a son, Kevin. My daughter is a senior. My son is a junior in high school. And so professionally, I have been attacked in the media for a long time, for about 5 years, which was fine. Not that it was right or fair, in my opinion. But candidly, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of the seriousness of it, when you have to go into a crack house and negotiate your father's life out as a child, you kind of view life in life and death. And so as long as it was not affecting my life or death, I always believed that I would be okay. That's how I approached this professional attack. And I took it on the chin for a long time. But then they did a story on my daughter.
And that was off limits.
Totally.
Yeah. The gloves
That
are off.
felt life and death because I'm a mother before I am anything. And I'm a protector of my children. And so it's one thing when you're attacking me. At that point, I realized that I had allowed the media to paint a story about me that just simply wasn't true. And I let them go so far that they felt okay attacking my child, a minor, a black woman, at a time where you have kids of color dealing with all-time high depression and even suicide.
Yeah.
So for me, that was too far, and I decided that I needed to tell my own story. But that's how it started. The more I began to write, and I talked about what I was going to write with others, I realized that this was so much bigger than my own story. That really, I was going to put some light and love on the face of who families and children of addicts are. Because especially from the crack cocaine epidemic,
Right.
we were all made to feel like we should be ashamed, not just of our family member, but of ourselves. And so my sister and I never subscribed to that thought. We always have been very honest about who we are, who our father is, and we have always been extremely proud of him because, similar to you, nobody should be judged on their worst day.
Right.
People are too much. So, yeah, my father is an addict, but he's also a son, a daddy, a husband, a brother, and a man of the community, a human who cares about other people. And so I wanted to remind people that we have nothing to be ashamed of, but also they are all humans, just like us. And so that is really, I think, it got to a point. I always thought that I would dedicate the book to my children and my mother and father and sister. But I dedicated the book to other children of addicts.
Wow. And why were you so adamant about the title?
I don't know how you could know that I was that adamant about it. But I was.
Discernment maybe, but it because it's bold. It's bold in one, and I'm not even for sure how did your agent feel about the title?
My agent was fine. I would say that the book community was not.
Okay.
They wanted another title.
It was
I
pushing
ended
back.
up self-publishing for that reason and among other reasons, and I'm glad that I did.
Right.
But you're correct. I was very adamant about that because that's all I've ever called myself. So before I'm a lawyer, before I'm a mother, before I'm a judge, I was the daughter of a junkie. I am Anthony and Linda's daughter, and I am proud of that.
That's right. Because look at that smile that goes with it. Do you see that smile that goes? I need y'all to see this smile. Do you see the smile that goes with the title? It's just it's pure joy, and it's also like I'm owning what's mine.
I am,
and I'm proud of it, and it's nothing that anybody can do to tear me down about it. Yes,
and
I love it.
I'm also going to honor. I didn't do this by myself. The addicts created me.
Right.
So the little girl that you're saying was so self-assured and knew what to do, I learned that from them. They deserve to be honored for that. This is not
look
just
at it like that. Right. I think we always look at the downside of the product of a child being, having parents that are addicts. I don't think we ever look at it as if they still mold you into the person who you are.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
I would be nothing without them and my sister. Who would I be without Anthony? Who would I be without Linda? Who would I be without the little girl who was forced to work on Christmas, or who had to go into a crack house and negotiate her father's life?
And how old were you when you did that?
9.
And you went in, big personality.
Well, I went in because my father needed to work. And he couldn't work there. So, I negotiated with the kid who was a kid. He was a little bit older than me, but yet still a kid. Like, you can't get paid and we can't get paid with him in here with you. This man got to leave. He got to go to work. We got to eat and you got to eat.
Did your mom know you went there to go do that?
She did not.
No.
And I think I had moved to Atlanta, so I probably was 11 or 12 then. Yeah, no, she didn't. My parents were separated when that happened.
So life in Atlanta, was it vastly different from life in Florida?
Vast is not a great enough word. Yeah. For me, we say this so loosely now because we have a visual picture of the movie. But literally for me, Atlanta was Wakanda.
I never heard no one say that about Atlanta.
Oh my God, all the time.
Maybe because I'm not in the political world.
It's like a T-shirt that says, Atlanta is Wakanda. But I don't mean it in the sense of what the movie is based off. I mean it in the sense of things you have never seen or heard of for Black people. And so you have this little girl moving from Duval to the poorest zip code, and you said it. Up until then, I didn't have any examples. I moved in with my mother and sister into her sister's house, and her husband was a lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So here it is now, what you spoke back then in Florida is now you're able to visualize it and see it and just add more fuel to the fire that you already had.
Yeah. And they lived in a 2-story home, which might as well been a mansion to me.
Right.
They had a basement. Their son had a playroom. Their windows had curtains on them instead of burglar bars. They had a dining room and a kitchen table. Like, what? Why do you have 2 tables? Like, it was just so many things I was enamored with. But my aunt didn't work. She was a housewife.
Something you had never seen.
Well, my mom always worked with my dad. So in his businesses, but my mom didn't work either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to call her a housewife because they were partners in life and in business. But it was definitely a different version. It was more of the Cosby television show before that came out.
Yeah.
And he was, he's no longer with us now. My Uncle Linwood was just a brilliant man and a loving and generous man. And he really took an interest in me and my future and taking the time to explain to me how to get there. He essentially gave me a roadmap.
And you followed it to the T.
To the T.
Because you seem like that type. You seem like, you seem like that type. Like,
And what would make you say that?
I don't know. It's just something about you, Judge. It's just something about you. Maybe it's discernment again, but you do seem like you dot all your I's, cross all your T's. Nothing is out of place. Even, I watched you as you came in and, sat over there. I watched the way you maneuvered through your phone. I just paid attention. I pay attention to details, how you'll tug at your skirt and how you fixed yourself a couple times. So it just seems like that's just your personality, that you follow things to a T. Yeah.
It is, and it's another one of those things I was telling you about my parents that I'm working on. Because I think for my sister and I, not that we are perfect, but the way that I say it is that we did not have room for error. Because I was getting us out the ghetto.
Under any circumstance.
All circumstances. Any means necessary. We were leaving.
Yeah.
And we were leaving together. Which meant that I had to always dot my I's and cross my T's. That probably is where that personality developed. And so I didn't really have room for mistakes. And they were not tolerated personally. However, my parents, no matter how many mistakes I made, never called it a mistake. They called it a life experience.
Oh, wow.
And so it's another one of those things that I'm working really hard with my own children because I recently realized that they have the luxury of mistakes because they are not living life to death. They are not living in an environment where they're trying to escape. They have a very different life than I did. And I told someone recently, I said, they do not have to hold themselves to this perfect standard that my sister and I did, because their life is different.
Right.
And I am literally trying to embrace that the way that my parents did.
And this episode was brought to you by the Airs Agency, a full-service marketing firm noted in entertainment and coaching. Daughter of a junkie. So on page 92, I just want to read you a little bit, and then you tell me, you finish the rest. When my mama got home, we rushed me into the emergency room, where the doctor gave the same instructions I'd been implementing all day. He told our mama that if Mia ran a fever or became slurring words, bring her back. I normally wouldn't have been worried about getting in trouble, but not this time. I saved Mia's life, so I knew I was in the clear. To celebrate, my mama would reward Mia and I with our favorite McDonald's hot fudge ice cream sundae with nuts. Unfortunately, ice cream wouldn't fix when I burned down our other place in a second fire at Four Seasons apartment.
That was a mouthful, right?
Yes, yes. Talk about that, Judge. How did you burn the apartment down? Not once, but twice.
Okay, so again,
In your defense.
in my defense and for the record,
Yes.
I do not take accountability nor blame for either of those fires. Okay, the first fire, I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and my father smoked marijuana. This is pre him smoking crack cocaine.
Right.
And he left a joint lit and took a nap. Well, I didn't know that what it was. I just picked it up because it's fire. It's flickering. I picked it up, carried it back to my room, wasn't paying attention, laid it on some paper, and then it was just smoke everywhere. And it was so much smoke, it woke my father up. Because again, no seat belts, no fire alarms. Like, this is pre any rules. You know, we out here fending for ourselves.
Yeah. Freestyling.
Right. There was no such thing as a fire alarm then. Well, not where we live.
Yeah.
And so my father came and grabbed me, and we were outside, and like smoke was coming out of my bedroom and everything. And my dad was just so happy I was okay. And I was like, cigarette. I didn't know that it was married. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he like, oh my God, you did that, little girl. Like, again, as the adult, he should have put his own cigarette out.
Yeah.
He should not have left it for his wandering child. That's not my fault.
And then what about the second time at Four Seasons?
It's not my fault again.
Okay. We'll hear her out, y'all.
Yes, I will let you all be the jury. So, my sister and I are at home. Our lights are off. This is a regular occurrence in our life. The lights are off and the phone is off. So I cannot call my parents to tell them the lights are off.
So you lit.
Well, again, it's regular in occurrence for us at this point. So we have a routine. We light candles. We go do our homework. And you probably remember this. We used to have like this desk with like the hutch, you know, with the shelves that sat on it. So I lit the candles right there, did my homework. My sister did her homework. Again, we don't have any lights, which means I don't have any electricity. I still need to fix us food. So I made us sandwiches. We go in the kitchen, we're eating, we hear crack pop. Like, what is that? Now, here's what's really ironic about this. We thought that we had an intruder.
From the sounds, yeah.
And I grabbed a machete. I know. It's sounding like a really weird movie.
Yeah.
I grabbed a machete, went back to look for the intruder. Why wouldn't I leave? I don't know. I'm a child, but
you've always been ahead of your time. And remember, you're the fixer.
I'm the fixer.
Right.
And I'm the protector. So if somebody is in my house,
To bother me and my sister.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
And they're going to deal with this machete.
Yeah. Y'all see she got a little in her.
I am from Duval now. I'm from the real Duval, not Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I'm from Duval.
Yeah.
It's a difference. So, get back there, engulfed in flames. And for a second, I honestly thought that I could put it out. But then my life and my sister's life flashed before my eyes. And I'm like, if we don't get out of here, we're going to die in here. I feel like I'm giving spoilers to the book, but I sent my sister to run to a neighbor's house to call the police. I'm headed out right behind her. I get to the door, and I remember my daddy's drug stash. So here's a really important thing about me and Mia. There wasn't much that we feared, but we did fear being taken away and our family, who I call the core four, being broken up. So in my head, if the police came and found drugs in that house,
They're going to take you and me away.
they're going to take me and my sister away. They're going to put us in the system, and we're going to be separated.
And the core four would be broke up.
So this same fire that I had just determined would kill me, I got to go face again. Because what's worse than dying? Breaking up the core four. So I went back in to get my daddy's drug stash and flushed it down the toilet. And then ran. And so the reason that I am adamant about it not being my fault. Now, this is one time where I will admit that I was a child. And if I had had working electricity and lights,
Then
I would have never
lighting
had
candles.
to light candles. So I blame my daddy and crack cocaine for that. That's not my fault.
No, it wasn't your fault. It wasn't
See?
your fault. Yeah. You had
verdict
such a,
in.
yeah, you
I'm
had such
innocent.
a heavy, you had a huge responsibility at such a young age. Yeah.
You know what's
really
really, I guess, weird about that? Is that at the time, I didn't think that. I never felt a heaviness or a burden.
Wow. Because sitting here, like when you just said that part, and I don't know why I'm getting emotional about it, but like to be 9 or 11 years old and to have that heaviness of the core four, willing to run back in the fire to get the drugs, that's a heavy responsibility. But I mean, it was your reality, right? So to you, it was just common.
It was just another Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I absolutely could handle anything, you know, outside of having to deal with setback after setback, which is why when I was attacked, I'm like, I was built for this, not to be attacked, but to survive.
Why were they attacking you?
Professionally. Again, I can't speak for other people. I just think that, you know, again, it's just a different role for Black women.
Yeah.
And when I went on this road, I always accepted that. So there was nothing that surprised me or that I was not prepared for. Because, again, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
And I have been raised to endure and survive. And so, you know, survival of the fittest. I believe in that the most. You know, I think about, like, you know, I always think about, like, the slave ships that crossed the Atlantic Ocean. And all of the souls that did not make it to America. And all of the bloodlines that died in the depths of that ocean. But I'm sitting here, which means that I come from a stock that's going to survive. And we're up in the ante because now we're thriving, despite it all, despite constantly being attacked, despite constantly having your foot on our neck. Not only am I surviving, I'm thriving and changing the trajectory of my family's life. My child does not know what it means to apply to college on a need basis. I am proud of that, and I would have to expect that my ancestors are too. And so that burden, if we call it that, isn't heavy to me at all. I'm proud.
Do you smile through everything?
I think I do. My sister and I have this coping technique, I guess, where laughter is how we got through it all. Like, we make fun of everything. We laugh about everything. Because I go back to, one, we know we're loved, but two, I think that we honestly believe we're always going to be okay because we always have been. So we've seen the worst of the worst. And it really makes me better than my other counterparts, you know? Mm-hmm. You hear people deal with so many harsh things and lose their mind because they have not had the training.
And you had the training.
Or setbacks.
Right, right.
So it's not the setback that's easy. Because setbacks, you know, life happens to everyone.
Yes.
But I know how to get up every single time. I got a father who's been smoking crack cocaine since 1978. But he gets up every single time to be an amazing daddy to me and his other children. He's not like a fictitious of my imagination. He is a loving man who has never raised his voice or hand to me. He has been at every major event of my life. That's the black man I know.
How happy, like how proud is your father of you? From that little girl that he told that day at that cash register. Like, no, we need you. And guess what? That little girl has went on to be the pillar of the family.
Yeah, I would say that we're all the pillars of the family. You know, we are a fabric interwoven together.
Yeah.
None of us work without the other. So, yeah, I did my part. My sister did her part.
Yeah.
My mama did her part. My daddy did his part. But all the parts matter.
Work together.
Yeah, nobody's part is more important than the other because we are the core four. And the whole essence of the core four is togetherness. It does not work separated. But to answer your question in the most direct way, extremely, but candidly, there's never been a day my daddy wasn't proud of me.
Yeah.
You know, I could be sweeping floors right now. My daddy would still be equally as proud of me.
Yeah. But I know he feels a way, you know? I mean, I don't know him personally, but I can imagine that he's in awe of the little girl was like, oh, my dad said we need a lawyer, so I guess I'm going to be a lawyer. Oh, my next door neighbor.
That's the difference. That's the part I'm trying to tell you, the part that I work on myself because I naturally want to protect my kids because I've seen so many bad things. My father's never been in awe of me because he's always had an expectation for me to be amazing.
Yeah.
You can't be in awe of something you expect. He would say that, of course you're great. You're my kid. You're the best parts of me. And I've given you everything in me. Everything. And you listen to me and you learn and you take it. Why wouldn't you be amazing? Like my mother and father don't have this, I'm impressed. They were
like,
impressed with my life from the moment I took my first breath. And I think that kind of love and confidence, especially in a black child, a black girl, it makes you think that there's nothing you can't do. Absolutely nothing. Because you've always been believed in.
So is it safe to say you're thankful for the training that you went through?
100%.
Yeah.
I have no idea who I would be without it. And I have tried my best to give my kids the same training without the trauma. So I have tried my best to make them independent. But again, I'm not as good as my parents. I'm still working on that. because I'm a little helicopter mom occasionally.
No.
But my parents, you know, will argue with any man, woman, or child about, and I mean, I don't care. You know how it's so common for kids to go, for people, adults to say, "Oh, they're just a child." My parents have never said that. Yeah, if I literally was sitting here, 7 years old, you walked in and did something wrong, and I told my mom and daddy, and then you're like, "No, she's 7. She doesn't know what she's talking about." They'd be like, "You don't know what you're talking about. If my daughter said you did it, you did it, and if she said you're wrong, you're wrong."
Yeah.
And so you have this 7-year-old, bright-eyed little girl looking up, like being defended at all times.
Yeah.
Like, and they would hit them with she's just a kid. And my dad would say, "Well, maybe your kid is just a kid, but my kid is not just a kid. She's amazing."
Wow.
I'm going to believe
That
I'm
you're
amazing.
Right. Yeah. So you never had, that set you up to never, ever have self-esteem issues.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I think, and I will give my mother credit for this. It's really incredible how they were able to make me self-confident but not arrogant. And I think it's because my mother and my grandmother insisted on gratitude in service to others. So they have always made sure we were helping. Even when we didn't have, we would have to volunteer. And so I think that the combination of self-confidence and gratitude really made me a grounded person.
Yeah, because you would, like I told you earlier, you know, you a judge, but you a sister. You get what I'm saying? Like you down to earth. Yeah. It's not just that, you know, you down to earth. Yep.
Yeah.
So I can't let you go without telling me, and in some kind of way I feel like I'm know your answer, but I'm going to see. Tell me something that you feel like you need to break free from.
What a wonderful question. And I have an answer that you're not going to like. Nothing.
I knew it. I promise to God. You know what I wish I could have? I wish I could have. I promise to God. I wish I could have said it. I knew you was going to say that. I promise I knew you was going to say that. I said in my head, she going to say, "It's nothing I need to break free from."
No, I didn't live a life breaking free or a mindset of having to break free. I told you that my parents, even when I made mistakes, said it was life experiences. So at a very young age, my father told me to make all decisions based on what I wanted. Not to do it for him, not to do it for my mom, and not even to do it for my sister, who I love more than anyone in the world.
Right.
And they taught me that. They taught us that, to love each other more than we love them. He said, you cannot make decisions based on another person. You have to always make your decisions based on you. And if you do that, you'll never live a life of regrets. You'll just live a life of experiences.
Life of experiences.
And I embraced that. And so I guess I've never felt in bondage to break free from anything.
I do a lot of yelling. I need to break free from it.
I do a lot of cursing, but I don't want to stop.
You don't? You have a potty mouth?
I do.
Oh,
I curse in the book.
You're too pretty to have a potty mouth and too educated to have a potty mouth.
Okay, so clearly we have different perspectives on a potty mouth.
Okay, yeah. So we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, so my Auntie Robin, you will read about her, has a potty mouth. She cringes when I say this. It's the best cursor I've ever seen in my life. I mean, and growing up, I was obsessed with her cursing.
Because she could lay down those curse words.
What? Like, my mother cannot curse.
Yeah.
My father doesn't even really curse at all. He doesn't even try. My mother tries to curse, but it
doesn't
never
sound
hits
right.
the same.
Like Auntie. Yeah. My Aunt Ro.
Auntie Robin. And so I used to practice cursing modeled after Auntie Robin because I wanted to be as good as Auntie Robin at cursing. And so I won't say that I'm as good as Auntie Robin.
Yeah, but
I give her a run for her money, and I'm proud of it.
Well, guys, there you have it. Y'all have to get the book, The Daughter of a Junkie. You see, today was amazing, and this was just a glimpse. Yes, she did give some spoilers, but it was just a glimpse of what's in here, and you see the personality. It's contagious, the smile. Make sure y'all get a copy of the book, The Daughter of a Junkie. Tell them where they can find the book. Tell them where they can find you.
I am the Daughter of a Junkie at anywhere you look. So social media, website, it is always THE, the Daughter of a Junkie. That's me. If you look for the Daughter of a Junkie, you're going to find me. And just a point of privilege. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that usually you don't expect to have these kinds of conversations, and even maybe you lead a little bit more. But it's so important for us to be able to share our authentic stories.
Right.
And so today you allowed me to share my story, but I also want to give you your flowers for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Because I think that it will help others, if not you and I, break free from the shame that they're living in that they shouldn't. Because we all should be running a little faster to the light and love.
Well, what can I say? The judge has spoken, guys. Remember, it's always delusion until they see it happen. I'll see you next time. And this episode was brought to you by The Heirs Agency, a full-service marketing firm noted in entertainment and culture.